Nigerian pension managers face pressure due to the government's delay in paying accrued pension rights to employees who retired since 2022. The last payment was made in 2022 and that covered 4 months. Now, these delays retirees access to their full benefits, causing frustration as pension fund administrators, PFAs, cannot compute payments without these contributions. Well, joining me for more on this is Tunji Andrews, the CEO, Awaba. Thank you, Tunji, for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Great. I'd like us to start with, just you telling us an overview, or giving us an overview of the Nigerian pension space. Where are we?
I think we're in a very good space. This is one of the issues around general knowledge of what a pension system is. We continue to see strong growth quarter on quarter, year on year of pension savings across the entire country. Retirees get paid, when and as are due. We've not had any issues up till date. We continue to see a robust mechanism for investment methodology, which is, of course, why this kind of a conversation is very important, so that at least people, the general public, might be able to understand a bit more about the intricacies of how pensions work and who, if there's any blame, who the blame should be put at their table at this particular time.
I like what you said about, quarter on quarter growth. I mean, some persons would like to know how that sort of concerns them at the end of the day.
The way the pension system works is that it's a savings that continues to be invested in very useful and safe instruments. And the general idea is that, you put in 10 naira, and when you do retire, you save over 30, 20 years. And when you do retire, you should be able to have 10 naira plus X, which of course is then split into several payments that is supposed to make your post-work life comfortable. So every year, every quarter,
Tunji Andrews, I guess we're having an issue hearing you. But of course, he's talking about, at the end of the day, how you get that X. It's because the pension fund administrators invest these monies and then they get returns, which of course you also get from. Now, let me get you, I'd like you to continue that explanation, Tunji.
Okay, I'm sure. Can you hear me now?
Absolutely, I can hear you.
Fantastic. So basically, it's just the investment methodology, just to make sure that when you do retire, and your funds that has been saved in your retirement savings account comes with a little extra to make sure that your post-work life is comfortable.
All right, so on the one hand, we have the federal government that has sort of failed to pay the accrued pension rights of newly retired employees. On the other, we have employers who deduct from employees' salaries but do not remit. And then we also have those who are not taking advantage of the voluntary contribution or do not even know about it. So I'd like us to begin from the very first one, which is the non-payment of the accrued pension rights, or let's say pre-act benefits of new retirees. What does this mean essentially, and what are the implications?
So think about pensions, as especially mandatory pensions, from the perspective of a joint account where two people invest in, but only one person can withdraw. So in the two people who can put money into it, it is supposedly you, who is the employee, and then your employer. So you jointly put money into that account. And on the withdrawal, it is only the employee that can withdraw money from that account. So for a joint account, for whatever purpose you have created it, if you go to the bank and you believe that you have 1 billion in the account, and you issue a check and you're trying to withdraw 1 billion, but it's only 500 naira that is in the account, the check will bounce. That is the real scenario we have today, where a lot of people who have retired have gotten to the point where they need to now, access their pension funds, but there is no money there, generally because savings have not been done. We see it happening on the government side, we see it happening on the private sector side, and it's sad, a sad reality. But unfortunately, the PFAs cannot pay out what has not been saved, if you get my point. So it's a very difficult scenario because in those scenarios, you see PENCOM, issuing fines, making sure, stepping into situations to try and make sure that employers and government make up those payments. But in the case where it has not been done, it's very difficult to be able to intervene.
Right, so many industry players sort of avert that the situation gives negative publicity to the sector. What are your recommendations for nipping this in the bud? I mean, do you even think anything is being done to achieve that? I mean, I want us to focus a bit on the government side now. I mean, we'll come to the private sector. On the government side
Yeah.
now, where payments have not been made since 2022.
I honestly do not know what we can do with the government side because it's a very difficult conversation. We live in a country where governors basically brag about paying pensions. It's a manifesto conversation. But hey, they brag about paying salaries. Forget pensions. It's like, hey, we paid pensions, we paid salaries for the last 3 months. So it's a bragging rights. So it's very difficult to be able to step in and enforce the regulations as concerns government. Very, very difficult. I don't know what we can do about it. I think pensioners have tried the name and shame approach. It doesn't work. They go to the places and they, protest. It doesn't seem to do much. I don't know what we can do in that area, but we just want to appeal to the governors to be able to make sure that those pension payments are done as when due, so that people who are now due for collecting their pensions can be able to have, a comfortable retirement.
Well, so let's talk about the private sector now. For employees whose salaries are deducted but not remitted, what are the options available to them? And then, we also know that some do not even know that their contributions are not even remitted. So, I mean, talk to us about this. How can people follow up and get justice or get their monies remitted?
So the conversation is quite straightforward. If you do make pension payments, you will get an alert via email and SMS from your pension fund administrator, letting you know at any time that a payment is done. Just the same way your bank account has alerts is the same way the PFAs would also alert you to payments being done into your retirement savings account at any point. So you can follow that. Now, the second part is if for some reason you feel maybe your phone number has been deactivated or some form, you can always walk into your pension fund administrator's office or basically reach out to them via online channels and make requests for your statements. And with that, you can be able to know what has been paid, what has not been paid. Now, in that regards, knowing what has not been paid, you can always, approach your HR to have those conversations with, okay, why has this not been paid? When is it going to be paid? Have those conversations. It's a very healthy conversation to have. And if at some point you realize that the company is refusing to pay that, make those contributions, there are channels which PENCOM has made available, and those channels are often you don't necessarily they are anonymous, so you don't necessarily have to use your name and all of that. So you can basically whistleblow, and PENCOM will swoop in to make sure that your pension remittances are up to date as at when due. So those are channels that are available, and this is outside your company. For instance, you go to the pension fund administrator, it is outside your company. You go to through to PENCOM, it is outside your company. But of course, the first step is to be able to make sure you know what has been paid and what has not been paid. Approach your HR, know what is going on, and then you can escalate further.
All right, so you play in the micro pension space. I'd like you to talk to us about the uptake and how it works. I mean, it's one thing for government to have a policy. It's another thing to have people, aware, or to get people aware of these things. Talk to us about this, knowing that, many Nigerians are actually employed in the informal sector where this particular micro pension is supposed to serve.
Yes, so we've seen remarkable growth over the last few years. I think when we came into the space, I think it was just about 50,000 contributors across the country. We've now breached and crossed over 100,000 and, look into 200,000 while we have 1 million in our minds. But it's not just the fact that people are registering. You're also seeing strong savings. You continue to see people save on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, individually. When we came into the space, general thoughts around micro pensions would be that you would see people only contribute 1,000, 2,000, 300 naira, 500 naira. But we're seeing people contribute 1 million, 2 million into their micro pensions accounts, because these are people who are self-employed, business entrepreneurs, business people who are making significant income and want to be able to put something aside for a rainy day. So it's encouraging, but I still believe that there's a lot more work to be done by players like us and the entire pension space to be able to make sure that everybody across the country knows the benefits of planning for a retirement and saving into a micro pensions account. But very early days, but we're doing good numbers and good growth.
Well, in terms of awareness, do you think that's something that's really driven? I mean, are we having so many people? Do people really know about this, really, to start from there?
Yes, I can guarantee that a lot of publicity has been done. Each PFA is doing a lot of publicity in the grassroots. Players like us, I mean, who are not even anything major within the industry, are doing a lot of market engagement, market conversations, market interactions, informal sector conversations, just to be able to make more people know about the product. And the regulator consistently has market engagements. They do it in Alaba, they do it in Ojaba, several. I think the last one I knew about was Ladipo. So they do a lot of those engagements to be able to let more people know about it. But like I said, there's still much more that can be done. The unfortunate thing is that publicity requires big money. So if you've ever seen any brand that has, come into the country and everybody knew about it and singing their jingles
Okay, so
on
let me come
radio,
in here. I don't.
they put a lot. Yeah.
All right, let me come in here because I don't think my audience will forgive me if I do not talk about this. There are peculiar situations where Nigerians can sort of access their funds before retirement. One of such instances is when one is probably out of a job for 4 months. Now, talk to us. How does this work? And also, is it something you will advise personally, or would you have people consider certain things before going for it?
So the difference between micro pensions and mandatory pensions is that micro pensions, you can withdraw 40% of your savings at any point in time after the first 3 months of saving, at any point. So on month 4, you can withdraw 40% of your savings. It's up to you. So it's basically 2 pots. There's the retirement pot, there's the contingent pot. The contingent pot is about 40% of the entire fund you put into your RSA, micro pensions RSA, and you can draw down the entire portion of that contingent pot. And the good thing about it is that it experiences the same interest rates. So the way that your main pot grows is the same way your contingent pot grows. So it's slightly different from the mandatory system, which of course you can only, withdraw a little portion after you've been out of work for 6 months or more. This is voluntary. It's up to you. You do it as you want to. You can save as much, save as little, and you can withdraw that 40% when you want to.
All right, for those who are in the CPS, the Contributory Pension Scheme and all that, what's your advice? I mean, would you say, well, if you've been out of job for 4 months, just go ahead and get the money? Or are there things you'd like the person to consider before going to access that 25%?
So first of all, I think it is important to let people know that 25% is available to you. It is your money. At the end of the day, it is your money. And if you are in that position where you are going through a difficult situation, or maybe you're just uncomfortable, it is your money. Let's be very clear about that. And it is waiting for you to go and access it. So if you have been out of job for 6 months, please, if you have any need for it, go and access it. For some people, they don't have it. They've probably gone into business or doing something more profitable, so they don't need it, so there's no need to touch it. But if you do need it, please quickly go and access it, speak to your PFA. But the thing I also believe is that, people should take advantage of the voluntary contributions to be able to boost their retirement savings account. just from the perspective that, okay, you've withdrawn that 25% and now you've done a contract or you've done some business, you now have a bountiful harvest. You want to put something away into that side and make sure that, your retirement savings account is robust, so that you don't have this conversation where, government retirees are having right now. You have something, beautiful waiting for you when you do retire.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about the pension-backed the pension-backed issue. Talk to us about it. How is it? Are people really going for it, and how does it? Well, that's the pension-backed mortgage. Yeah, that's the word.
Oh, okay. So yes, we have seen people trying to take advantage of it. So you can fund 25% of your mortgage. You can fund your mortgage, part of your mortgage, with 25% of your pension fund. So let's say you have 10 million in your entire savings. You can be able to access 2.5 million of that 10 million, and that goes into a mortgage as part of your equity contribution towards a mortgage. The general thinking is that, the pension regulator believes that, you're going to advance a mortgage instead of buying outright. So they've designed it in such a way that you can do that. I think if you want to buy outright, it also flows into that. But generally, the idea is that you can access 25% of it. All you have to do is, there are specific mortgage houses that have been stipulated by the regulator that you can approach. Once you've been able to see them, you've seen the properties that they have, you like a particular one, you've chosen it, then you can approach your PFA and ask them to be able to, put in 25% of that into the mortgage contribution, and then you make up the rest. So basically, it's just helping you be able to access your pension contribution from the perspective of growth as an individual.
Tunji Andrew, CEO Awaba, thank you so much for your time on the show today and for sharing your thoughts.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.